So that's the goal. But if you look at their standard of conduct, which is to show up and spend 10 minutes talking to everybody for every 1 minute that they're actually lifting a dumbbell, you can see the mismatch. They're never going to make any progress. One thing that I want to remind you of is that, you know, your standards, whatever they are right now, your standards validate your true identity. You see, your identity is not what you say it is. Your identity is basically how you behave. Thank you for being here today. I'm excited to be able to talk to you once again. And I'm really excited about this topic because this is a topic that I enjoy speaking about, but I realized just recently that I had not addressed this topic in a very long time. So I decided that this was the week when I needed to revisit this topic. If you have not heard this before, then it's going to be a bit of a revelation. If you have heard this before, that's fine. Consider it a reminder because we all need reminders from time to time about things that we already know that we may just not be doing. So let me just start with this. We're going to be talking about goals, okay? And specifically, we're going to be talking about what it is that could be holding you back from achieving your goals. Now, I don't want you to do too much thinking about anybody else today. I'm talking to you about you, your goals. That's what's important here. Before we get into the nuts and bolts, let me introduce myself. Of course, I am Mark Johnson, the founder of Bounce Pep, bringing you ideas for a fit and flourishing future. I am also the youngest son of Bill Johnson, and I'm so glad to have you here. I want you to go ahead and subscribe if you have not done that now. Make sure you leave comments about anything that you hear. Feel free, you are at liberty to leave any comments, whether you agree or disagree. In fact, sometimes I actually like the comments where people disagree with something because sometimes I learn something from just hearing a different perspective. So that can help me out. So, with that said, let's jump right in. Now, what I'm going to talk to you today about is really a lesson that comes straight out of the gym. Okay, straight out of the gym. So if you're someone who is in the habit of going to the gym to train, then I think you're going to pick up on the central message of this very, very quickly. You're going to understand it very, very quickly. And perhaps even if you're not someone who's there yet, maybe you're thinking about going into the gym and working out and just getting started and building a better body and a better mind and better health, then I think that this will this will serve as kind of like this will illuminate one of the advantages of going to the gym because it brings you insights such as this. Okay, so for those of you who are on the fence about really getting serious about your fitness, this is going to give you another reason to do it. Getting in the gym is going to bring you insights about life in general. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about your goals and why they may be difficult for you to reach or very, very difficult to make any progress on. Okay. So first, let's just talk about what your goals are. Goals are about your dreams. Goals are the vision, basically. It doesn't take most people very much time to come up with goals. Now, some people who are just completely lost, they may fumble around or be kind of confused and have a hard time setting any kind of goals. But for the most part, most people don't have much of a problem just simply setting goals. That's the easy part. It really is. And I always encourage people to have big goals. You should have big dreams because when you go for it, even if you don't get all the way there, a lot of times what you achieve on the way is still pretty impressive. Okay. So have big goals, challenge yourself. Now, with all that said, I want to talk to you about something that is highly, highly correlated to your goals in terms of your ability to make progress towards your goals. Okay. And this thing is called your standards. Now, Standards are about your commitment. If goals are about your dreams, then you have to think of standards as being about your commitment. Standards are basically the reality of what it takes. And this, my friend, is the whole key to this conversation today. You see, your problem could very well be that you have lofty goals and lowly standards. And that is not a combination that is going to work. Okay? It's not going to lead to the achievement of the goals that you set. So basically, you have a mismatch between these high goals and these low standards. Now, what you have to do is you have to, if your goals are up here and you're not going to compromise on your goals, you're sure that you want to go after these goals, then you've got to raise your standards. Okay. But one way or another, you've got to get these two aligned. So if your standards are currently here and your goals are up here, you're either going to, set more modest goals, which you probably don't want to do. You probably want to keep high goals, but that means you've got to raise your standards. Now, what exactly are standards if we define them, strictly speaking? When I say standards, what I'm talking to you about is your standards of conduct, okay? Your standards of conduct. Your standards of conduct are the behaviors that you engage in on a normal, regular basis, perpetually, okay? So these are things that you're doing like frequently, just normal patterns of conduct that you have, okay? Those are your standards of conduct. And what you have to do in order to reach that impressive goal that you set is you've got to match it, okay? You've got to match that goal with some equally impressive standards to get there. And what I see a lot of people drop the ball on is standards. So they've identified the goals, but they haven't thought very, very much. I mean, honestly, but naked honesty, right? Really, really thought about what it's going to take to get there. Because once you start thinking about what it's actually going to take to reach those goals, now you're thinking about the standard. Now you're thinking about standards of conduct. And when I say standards of conduct, I'm also talking about the thoughts in your head as well. Okay. So standards of conduct include your behavior and your patterns of thought. So both together. Okay. And you can even include maybe some, maybe emotion as well in that, right? Your ability to regulate your emotions. But it's basically your standards of conduct. So when I say standards of conduct, I'm really talking about all those things. Now, so I think you get the point. You see people, for instance, in the gym, and they're in there and they are basically talking 10 minutes for every 1 minute that they work out. Now, ostensibly, this person is in the gym to get healthier and to get stronger and improve their fitness. Okay. So that's the goal. But if you look at their standard of conduct, which is to show up and spend 10 minutes talking to everybody for every 1 minute that they're actually lifting a dumbbell, you can see the mismatch. They're never going to make any progress because the conduct does not lead to the achievement of the goal, right? More concretely, if you want to, I always use the example of bench pressing. Let's say you want to bench press 300 pounds or 350 pounds. That's your goal. You say, come hell or high water, one day I'm going to bench press 350 pounds. That's a great goal. 350 pounds, I mean, that's generally speaking, that's pretty impressive. Most people cannot lift 350 pounds. Okay, so if you can achieve that, that's pretty impressive. But the question is, what are your standards of conduct? in the gym that are going to get you there. If you're only benching 190 or 200 now, well, you got a long way to go to get to 350. Okay. So how often are you going to show up at the gym? When you show up at the gym, what kind of training regimen are you going to engage in? I mean, how many reps are you going to be doing every session? How many sets are you going to be doing every session? What is your actual standard of conduct that's going to lead to the achievement of that goal of bench pressing 350 pounds? So you got to put thought into your standards of conduct. You have to put more thought into your standards of conduct than you do your goals, because the standards of conduct are, what did I say? The reality of what it takes. Okay? The reality of what it takes to reach the goal. And that requires a lot more thought. Okay? And it requires you to get realistic about what you're going to have to do in order to achieve what you want to achieve. It probably, especially if you've set a high goal, is not going to be easy. It's probably something you're going to have to commit to, establishing certain habits, okay, that you just keep repeating and repeating and repeating over time, so that the cumulative effect leads to the achievement of that goal. But it's going to take time and it's going to take commitment. Okay. You're going to have to follow through and demonstrate your commitment through disciplined action. Your standards validate your true identity. You see, your identity is not what you say it is. Your identity is basically how you behave. That tells you and everybody else everything that they need to know about who you are. Your behavior. I don't care what you say, your actual behavior, your actual standards of conduct demonstrate what your identity is. Okay? So, when you want to achieve a goal, there's a bit of a process to it. You've got to start with your paradigms. Your paradigms are the beliefs that you have about yourself and your place in the world and what you deserve, um, how you're supposed to move, how you're supposed to interact with people. So your paradigms are deeply held beliefs. They don't change day to day. And your paradigms are going to be apparent in how you behave. Okay, I always talk about a short time horizon. You can see some people have what I call their time paradigm shows up in how they behave in terms of their future self. So some people can't delay gratification, and they're always just looking for that instant hit, that instant joy, that instant thrill. And the future, they don't put much thought into, what's going to happen in the future, what's good for the future, what they may need to sacrifice right now in order to have what they really want in the future, right? So that's a short time horizon, right? So that paradigm, if you have a short time horizon, that paradigm can hold you back from achieving your long-term goals, because your actions are all oriented towards gaining something in the short term, right? So when you want to achieve a goal, everything is going to start with your paradigms. If your paradigms are not conducive to achieving your goals, then it means that you're going to have to change some of your beliefs about yourself. Okay. The only way that you can change your beliefs about yourself is to change your behavior. This is the only way. When you change your behavior, okay, and you change specifically your standards, so I'm not talking about momentary behavior or sporadic behavior. I'm talking about standards of conduct. When you change your standards of conduct, which are perpetual behaviors, perpetual ways of thinking, perpetual ways of feeling, okay? Then you have taken the first step towards achieving your goals. Now, Once you begin to examine your standards and maybe upgrade some of your standards, okay? And so now you're acting in ways that are more conducive to getting you where you want to go. Then you need to start thinking about establishing new routines. Now, routines and habits are not exactly the same thing. I mean, people tend to get them mixed up, but routines are intentional. In other words, a routine is something that you have to think about doing because it's not yet automatic. Okay, so a routine is actually before a habit. So once you have established what your standards are going to be, then you have to decide specifically to engage in those behaviors on a routine basis. In other words, you're intentionally engaging in those behaviors. You're putting forethought into it. If you, for instance, want to get in shape, what do you say? You say, okay, I'm going to have my gym gear washed and ready to go, and it's going to be on the sofa so that as soon as I come downstairs, I see gym gear on the sofa and I know it's there, and it's going to remind me that I need to pick it up, walk out the door, and go to the gym, right? So you're establishing that routine. Over time, what's going to happen is you keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. And then guess what? At some point, you stop thinking about it. It becomes natural, automatic, instinctual, whatever words you like. But basically, it becomes a habit in the sense that if you don't do it, you actually start to feel weird. You feel anxious. It feels like something is wrong because now it's like, oh, wait, there's something's missing. I'm supposed to have done this and it just doesn't feel right. So when you start to feel anxious about having not done something, then that's a pretty good signal that you've established a habit. When you're in a routine phase, you still have to be very intentional about your actions. You still have to really think about them before you do them. Once it becomes a habit, it's on auto, and you start to feel strange when you don't do it. Okay, so you want to get to that point where you've established your standards. You've started implementing those standards through a routine, and then the routine gets to a point where it actually becomes a habit that you don't really have to think about it anymore. You just do it instinctually. Okay, so let me go all the way back to the beginning and wrap this up by reminding you about the importance of your standards. Okay, make sure that your standards of conduct align with the goals that you've set. Because if you don't do that, and if you haven't done that, that is undoubtedly contributing to your failure to make progress towards your goals. Okay, so that is my message to you today, and I want you to, if you need to play this back one more time and just listen to it again, go ahead and do that. Just make sure you absorb it. Make sure that you follow through. Apply this lesson in your life, okay? And I want to remind you again, things like this, for those of you who have not started working out in earnest on a regular basis, even though you have the desire to, I just want you to understand, you can pick up life lessons like this in the gym. This is one of the beautiful parts about the gym. It's not only about getting strong and looking better and all that stuff. You actually learn things about life in there, okay? So with that said, I'm going to sign out here. I want you to take this with you. I'll talk to you next time.